Hello there. This episode is going to be about the many eyes, those characters that exist inside of us. Gurdjieff says, "The three-story factory represents the universe in miniature and is constructed according to the same laws and on the same plan as the whole universe. Man, in the full sense of the term, is a miniature universe. In him are all the matters of which the universe consists. The same forces, the same laws that govern the life of the universe operate in him. Therefore, in studying man, we can study the whole world, just as in studying the world, we can study man. But a complete parallel between man and the world can only be drawn if we take man in the full sense of the word, that is, a man whose inherent powers are developed. An undeveloped man, a man who has not completed the course of his evolution, cannot be taken as a complete picture or plan of the universe. He is an unfinished world." I was walking into the kitchen the other day, and I suddenly realized that three things are present. The first is me, or the waking state. The second are the many eyes, the crowd of voices that are always with me inside. And the third is the body, which I'll put to the side just now. And these characters that are inside of us are like phantoms. They're like little people. They're partial people, in fact. Some are silent, but you can feel their feelings. Some talk a lot, some are physical. Each one is a unique creation. And just like people out there in the world, some have a balance of faculties and some are very one-sided. Some are small and some seem to encompass the entire area. I've discussed before how significant I think this is, and that this crowd of voices is meant to be there. Human spirituality discounts them, pushes them away, tries to destroy them or deny them. And I understand why it wants to do that, because presumably they would not be part of our final form. Nevertheless, they are here now. Any man knows that trying to avoid them only works for a while. Trying to observe them gives you knowledge about them, but for how long will you observe? And what will you do with that knowledge? When you observe them, it strengthens the waking state, and that character will be quiet for a while, but he'll come back. That's as far as mankind has got, and it's not very far. What are they doing there? Does anybody know? In India, they very much strengthen the observing powers, witnessing, mindfulness, attention, awareness, observing. And most of those sages die with a full zoo of many eyes still inside of them. And this is when Gurdjieff says that you can become an immortal thing rather than an immortal person. An immortal person must be one. Gurdjieff said that real immortality is unique. It is rare and difficult. Everything has to be integrated into one. These many eyes that are inside me are invisible to others, at least to most people. I have a friend who's a therapist who could see inside me and tell me what she saw. I suppose she has an astral body. I can't discuss all these things today. I was more interested in the field that is in front of me. In society there are other people, friends, colleagues, neighbours, and then there are the characters that are inside of me. Do you see? In my field of vision, these all merge together. That is projection. And it dawned on me that most spiritual teaching refers to this situation. Thou shalt not kill is a command for your many eyes, inside just as it is for us outside. They are a command for the external world and the internal world. As you take communion with the priest, those characters must take communion with you. Gurdjieff said once that if you pray and the devil appears, make the devil pray too. Now I have done that, but not the devil, just awkward characters inside. I make them pray. So I was sitting in church waiting for the Easter Mass. Mercifully it was not too long, only an hour and 20. I could just about manage that. And I saw this inside. These days, according to the large amount of work that I do, I'm seeing a lot of things inside, and I will share some of them. I was reflecting on Gurdjieff's idea of the miniature universe and how we create things inside of us just as we are created. The Absolute creates souls, you see, and then the souls can create things. And in our field, in front of us, we create things of different types. Children, of which I have none, are a creation of a certain type. The many eyes are a second type of creation. And surrounding us, society, people from a different line, but who we are cohabiting with. These are the creations in front. And horizontally is society, and behind me is the great light. That's my point of view. Most human beings cannot distinguish very well between their waking state, their characters, or the people outside. It becomes one long smeared story. And separating these things is a beginning. The waking state seems to me to be assisted by the sun, and all animals have a waking state. The foxes in the garden, they wake up, like I wake up, and my functioning is of a higher order than at sleep time, I see things and I process things. I have certain abilities. And I ask myself, if a fox has a waking state and I have a waking state, then that waking state is not eternal. For me personally, I also have something else, which is the state of consciousness. And that had a very heavy price. That part of my journey is over. And luckily, I did it when I was young. Nevertheless, the waking state can do certain things. He can choose, and he can choose again. He can choose to enter the path. He can choose to understand. He can try. He can try very hard. But does he? This, of course, is for a complete man, for the finished article. But humanity actually is like that. And as you see, what is completed is below the threshold of the light, of permanence. And when we are created here as a two-storied creature, an unfinished creature. Until the design has flowered into the upper story centers, there is a space there. And what goes into that space? What partial crystallizations live in there? What attempt live upstairs? If we consider a society of many people who have a space on the top floor, there is a space for something to go into, and what goes into it is shared in society. From this womb, material is placed into that space to see if it can crystallize, to see if, in a rare occasion, a kind of fusion will take place between the heaven and the earth. According to the energetics of the octave, the energetic halfway point, the point of the half moon, is in fact where humanity is. We are at the great threshold. This was the situation before the world wars. Since then, I think we've lost a bit. There is a crowd of voices. My sense of it is that they are shared, and there is a permeability. Very strangely, last evening I was daydreaming, and in my daydream I was walking through a house, and I turned to my left, and there was a black man standing there. What the hell is a black man doing in my dream? The images of black people have never been inside my mind in my life. But because the American companies are pressing those images into people's faces, and worse, then the people in Britain are starting to have these inside them. Their many eyes become coloured with images that don't rightly belong inside of them. Images that are not from their culture, or their land, or their people, or their wish. Gurdjieff talks of a fusion of the upper and the lower parts of the being, the heaven and the earth fused together. The cross. This cross is at the exact halfway point, energetically speaking. You can go and check that in the octave. There is an opening at the half moon stage. But perhaps I should put that cross here, because it really represents something quite concrete, which is the development of the higher emotional center. I always found devotional prayers to be very wonderful, and I never had any questions about it. But the way people talk sometimes, I wonder if they're capable of one sincere prayer. And if they're not, I don't know what to say to them. The Salzman wrote, "First we should recall what Mr. Gurdjieff said with such force. The name of man is Legion. Renewing the experience of self-knowledge implies a persevering search in the participation of an active I, which sees that we are not one, not two, not three, but a multitude of persons. This knowing of oneself, potentially at each moment of one's life, can only develop progressively." Now here the Salzman is talking about, of course, increasing the power of observation. Try and make it continuous. But that does not actually dissolve the characters. And both Gurdjieff and Ouspensky had an idea that they should work nicely together, and that there should be a deputy steward and steward. And this idea is carried actually into some New Age therapies, that these voices in your head should play nice together. Although Gurdjieff had other types of techniques, less well explained. For instance, to play the role of yourself. That is a loosening technique. The techniques that I use are yogic, and they involve directly dissolving those characters, but are much more complex. Gurdjieff says, "The body of the soul itself, being formed of substances derived from the emanations of various other suns, could not be decomposed in the solar system where it was formed and lived, but continued to exist in the given solar system in definite places until its final perfection. After this, at certain gradations of reasonableness, this body of the soul became an individual, that is, a force in itself, a unity, no longer subject to decomposition from exterior causes. Thereafter this perfected soul was taken, as I have already told you, to that place to which the degree of its reasonableness corresponded." The problem with a lot of work on the many eyes in psychotherapy, that it is the false self trying to adjust some part of itself, and that it is not soul initiated. At the end of the book, Life is Real Only Then When I Am, it says this: "The third series, incomplete and unfinished as it is, reveals the action of the master, of the one who simply by his presence obliges you to come to a decision to know what you want. Before he died, Gurdjieff sent for me to tell me how he saw the state of affairs and to give me certain instructions. Publish as and when you are sure that the time has come. Publish the first and second series. But the essential thing, the first thing, is to prepare a nucleus of people capable of responding to the demand which will arise. So long as there is no responsible nucleus, the action of the ideas will not go beyond a certain threshold. That will take time, a lot of time even. To publish the third series is not necessary." What is Gurdjieff telling us? Certain things about our journey upwards must be understood. The first is that you cannot go from the 5th center to the 6th center as you are. It is you, but from a deeper place, an unknown place. And so the journey upwards is not just walking up the mountain, but being transformed and accepting the transformation on the way. You must leave this world and these people. You must leave this world. You must be prepared to change, to be changed, and to learn how to live on the other side. And if you pray, you go through a channel in your heart. So go through and don't come back. This world is perishing. Everything that is here is dust. There is already nothing to come back to. So go forth. Nature can only take you so far, but it cannot make you be. You have to wish to be. Otherwise you will not be. Nature can only take you so far. Each of the characters has a wound, what we would call a wound. And maybe one day you will see that the wound is simply a learning process. Something has been learned by battling through the jungle with a machete. And that's why these characters cling on so hard. They cling on desperately for their own life. And that is their job. And you also have a job. As the priest saves you, so you must save them and become whole again. Because the material in the 3rd floor seems to be shared, it may be possible to heal your family and to save your family by doing the work of integration and healing all those characters and voices that you have inside of you. If you heal them inside of you, they may be healed inside your family members. I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm sure I'll find out in the forthcoming years. In the days when people used to go to church in Britain in large numbers, that they were all healing each other and doing it properly too. The way what is called confession works is that you present some of the unsavory deeds of your many eyes to the priest, who then directs you to pray 10 Our Fathers, 10 Hail Marys, and those prayers pass octaves of feelings through the many eyes to heal them. They are ascending octaves. The level of knowledge that is inside certainly the Catholic Church and possibly the Orthodox Church is quite unbelievable. All those things that Gurdjieff talked about are in fact still active, present and functioning. But somehow 100 years ago it became very fashionable to say that God had died, but God had not died. And it's interesting that those people, especially in Britain, who are interested in magic and paganism and esoterica, they feel that they want to stay away from the church, when in fact all those things are in the church, and what's more, they work. It's not just strange books. It is applied and implemented right now, and it has been for thousands of years. Quite strange, isn't it? How swayed we are by the nonsense we get from the media. I don't know how many people in the church that I go to would understand any of this. Probably none of them. But then again, the way the practices and the sacraments are laid out, they don't really need to understand. It still works. Whoever designed that must have known the low level of humanity, in that they needed a way to get out of here, even though they didn't understand anything, and they were going to destroy their cultures and civilizations. And that's what they came up with. And after 2,000 years, it still works for those who go. At least those who are able to discern a good church from an ungood one. This world is extremely confusing.